Hello, good people. I am JT. Here I am. We're back again, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on a fine Sunday morning. I am JT, aka the Master, and we are, as you see up there, for no reason. Okay, people, you know this is about fantasy football. You know I'm going to be talking about this week. Like I said last week, we did tight ends. This week, we're doing wide receivers. And next week, we're going to be doing my forte. And I got some surprises for you and some sleepers for you. I'm going to be giving you some sleepers. Maybe not this week. Next week for sure. Okay. I got some people that we're talking about. We're talking guys inside the 24, top 24 wide receivers. Top 24 wide receivers. And we do have, I'm just going to mention them. I'm not going to show them on the screen. I'm going to mention about 4 or 5 of them that are not in the top 24, but easily could slip into that 24 if things go right. Okay? If things go right. All right? Now, my scoring system in strength of schedule for these wide receivers is 1 to 5. There are no 1s and there are no 5s within the top 24. There's a few 4s, and I'll point them out to you. A majority of them are 3s, which is average. 4s are above average. 5 is the optimum, almost perfect schedule for, or the best schedule for whatever position. And 2 is below average. Is that depending on, and I've said this before, depending on the quarterback, the wide receiver, and the strength of schedule for the team. It's the combination of all that. Are you going to get the optimum out of this? Is Jamar Chase or Courtland Sutton, depending on what their schedule is, when I get to them, and they're in the top 24, both of them quite naturally, are they going to be able to maximize what you want from them? Okay? What you're expecting from them? Or are they going to struggle and be a disappointment? I'll give you my opinion. It may surprise you. It may not. You may agree. You may not. But it's just my opinion. Okay? And you can take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't make a difference. I'm giving you my opinion. Okay? And I can point to that right there. That's the trophy, people, that I'm proud of. And I maneuvered with all these wide receivers, not all of them. Like quite naturally, I didn't have all on my roster, but I had a few of them. And they helped me win a championship. I either drafted them or I acquired them through a trade, or mostly if they're in the within the 24, they weren't on a waiver wire anywhere. I'm looking at these players from 24 to 1. And I don't think, in fact, I know none of them were on the waiver wire. They were all drafted, except for maybe a rookie. I got one rookie that's within the top 24. Yeah, I believe that. Every year you see a rookie come out. I wouldn't say come out of nowhere, but with high expectations to perform, and he does. Well, that's what I have in here. Okay. First off, I did it in quarterbacks. I did it in tight ends. I'm going to do it again in strength of schedule. The toughest and the easiest in 2025. quite naturally, I'm going to show you the toughest first, and then we'll transition down to the easiest, and then we'll go into the wide receiver rankings. Right now, you're looking at the worst schedule, strength of schedule for a team, 1 through 10. The top 10 teams that have the toughest strength of schedule in the NFL. Giants. The Lions and the Bears are tied for second. Philly is next. Then Dallas. Then Minnesota. Along with Washington. So we're talking about every team in the NFC East are within the top 10 toughest schedules. And then we go to Baltimore. And then we go to Pittsburgh. Okay? So we're looking at 2 teams from the NFC North. 2 teams from the AFC North. 3 teams from the NFC North. 4 teams from the NFC East. 2 teams in the AFC North. Okay? That's the teams within the top 10 who have the toughest schedule in the NFL. Okay? I'm always going to show this, and I'm going to emphasize. Just because I show this doesn't mean that whatever position can't thrive in the schedule or in a game or consistently throughout the season. These teams have the toughest schedule. Okay? And then I'm going to show you the easiest. And it's going to go from 23 to 32. So 23 is the 23rd easiest schedule. And quite naturally, 32 is going to be the easiest schedule. Okay. We got the Buffalo Bills, Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts, New York Jets, Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers, Tennessee Titans, New England Patriots, New Orleans Saints, and the San Francisco 49ers have the easiest schedule in the league. Easiest schedule in the league. I got high expectations for teams that are in the NFC West, such as the Arizona Cardinals, and quite naturally, the San Francisco 49ers. Got high expectations for those 2 teams, okay? And it may reflect on wide receivers within my list, okay? It may reflect that. So let's go to my said list, okay? Let's hide this and go to my said list. 24 being the 24th ranked wide receiver, and we'll go 24 within this box, within this frame. I'm going to show you. We're going to go from 24 to 13. The 24 to 13. At 24, Tetairoa McMillan from Carolina. And I know people are going to say, what? Really? Well, I showed you. The reason why I showed you the easiest schedule, and then the wide receiver with the easiest schedule is one of the easiest schedules, is because this is I would say not perfect, but this is almost like a perfect storm. Carolina's got one of the easiest schedules. The 5th easiest schedule in the NFL. And McMillan, who was drafted to be the number 1 wide receiver, with a high expectations in Bryce Young, has a 4. So with the easiest schedule, or one of the easiest schedules in the NFL, and with a favorable schedule pertinent to his position, which is the wide receiver, You got high expectations. And like I said earlier in my opening, there's always rookies that are going to meet expectations or exceed them. Okay? For the last few years, there have been rookies, wide receivers, that have either met expectations and most definitely have exceeded them. And that's what you want. Okay? That's what you want. Now, I'm not going to take Teddy in the first round, but he could be taken late in the second round. Maybe. If you're adventurous, if you have high expectations. Remember I said the first week I talked about quarterbacks. And I've said this before, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, okay, whether just audio or videos, I've always said when drafting, if you feel that the player is not going to be there at his supposedly average draft position, you got to jump ahead and take him. You got to jump ahead and take him. Okay? Never mind what other people say. This is your team. If you feel a player is not going to be there where you think most people think is going to be there, jump ahead and take him. It's your choice. He's not going to go in the first round. He's not a first round talent. He may wind up being that this year. Who knows? He may break out in the first year. It's not the first or last time a wide receiver in his rookie season has done that. And they have high expectations. He was the first round pick. They have high expectations for this young man. And Bryce Young has shown some upside at the end of last season and the beginning in preseason. So these two young men can grow up together. Okay? Grow up together. And that's the whole premise of this. And they're trying to trade Adam Thielen, the old soul of the wide receivers in the Carolina Panthers. Okay? So that's going to be one less supposedly mouth to feed if Adam Thielen gets traded. You got Xavier Legette. You got Jalen Poole, I think it is. Okay, you have young talent on the team. That's what's building in Carolina, young talent. Okay, so I like Teddy McMillan, excuse me, in this 24 spot. He's got high upside. I expect him to have immediate volume and red zone opportunities. And right now, he's ranked wide receiver 24. Size and production. I see this guy producing. Okay. What is he, 6'3", 6'4", something like that? That's how I see him. Okay. And I expect him to be wide receiver 2 or 3. Okay. I got him at quite naturally numbers at wide receiver 2. But it is what it is. Okay. At number 23 is Devontae Smith. And let me tell you the truth here, people. Let me tell you the truth. Devontae Smith is a very good wide receiver on a very good offense. On a very good offense. And I expect him to somewhat, let me put it, he's got to stay healthy. Okay. This is a run first offense. This is a run first offense. Okay. Run first. So they're going to delete. They're going to lean heavily on Saquon Barkley. Okay. Quite naturally. Well, I'll be talking about Saquon Barkley next week with running back rankings. And I got 3 drafts on a week from today. 3. 12 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Got 3 drafts. And this league here, where I won the championship, is at 7 o'clock. So I'm drafting to keep this trophy I got in back of me sitting on my desk. I'm going to be drafting and planning back to back. Hopefully. Just like the Philadelphia Eagles and Devontae Smith, who has a 3 rating. Okay. A 3. That's what I got to tell you. That's what I have to tell you. Okay? But I'm going to go to and they're in tier 4. All these from 18 to 24 is in tier 4. And people may depend on tiers. That's why I'm giving it out to you. Okay. And Devontae Smith's average draft position is, like I said, his strength of schedule is 21st. And he's got an average strength of schedule. He's got 3 stars sitting there in front of you. You see that, don't you? So he's going to be a wide receiver 3, not a 2, 3. I wouldn't take him in the second round. Maybe third round probably I would take him. All right. Most of these guys are third round. Okay. Most of them in third round, in my opinion. Okay. Some of them maybe fourth round in other people's opinion. All right. But we're talking about wide receiver 2, 3 here. Okay. Some of these guys are the number 1 wide receiver on the team. Some of them are not. The first 2 I've talked about, Tedoroa McMillan is a wide receiver 1 on, supposedly wide receiver 1 on his team. Devontae Smith, quite naturally, is a wide receiver 2 on the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we go to one of my favorite tight ends, wide receivers, big wide receiver. He's got his strength of schedule is a 12. He's got a 3-star, okay, which is average, which is fine. He's reliable, he's steady, and quietly productive. And he's the clear-cut number 1 in Denver. And he's not explosive after the catch, but he's a dependable guy and gives you a solid floor as a strong wide receiver 2, even though he's a wide receiver 1 in this offense, who could easily outperform where people see him right now. He can easily outperform 22. He could easily outperform where I have him at 22. Okay? He got a new contract in a season where he saw wide receiver usage down the stretch. He's quite naturally, a lot of people think he's a favorite target for managers seeking a set it and forget it option in the wide receiver room. Okay? That's how I see. He's Mr. Dependable. Okay? He's Mr. Dependable. If you're looking for a dependable wide receiver to give you consistent numbers, week in, week out, you know Bo Nix is going to be looking for Cortland Sutton. Okay? You know Bo Nix is going to be looking, like I talked last week, with Evan Ingram. Okay, you know those two targets are going to be should be consistently targeted. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is one of my favorite sayings. I coined this saying years ago because I fit it. I think it fit. Targets equal opportunities. And I think Courtland Sutton is going to be targeted early and often. And that gives him an opportunity for receptions and quite naturally accumulation of fantasy points. Okay? That's how I see it. Now let's move on to number 21. People, I think this guy is going to exceed his position. I have him at 21 because the guys up there above him, he's regarded as a number 2 in fantasy, but he's a number 1 on his team. Who else they got? Roman Wilson? Come on. They got 2 tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth. I talked about them both of them last week. Okay? Talked about both of them last week. You go back and look at that YouTube video. For No Reason, Jerry Taylor, that's me. And you'll see I talked last week about the tight ends and both those Pittsburgh tight ends. It's Arthur Smith. As long as Arthur Smith's been in this league, he's been using, he has use or a lot of use for the tight end. Okay? But there's only one bona fide big play wide receiver that DK Metcalf, that Aaron Rodgers is going to throw to. Okay? I think this offense, I know it's Arthur Smith. I understand. But I think this offense is going to surprise people. It's going to surprise people. Okay? I know you're going to say, well, if he's the only wide receiver option, defenses are going to scheme against that. Okay. Anytime Aaron Rodgers has been on the field with a bona fide wide receiver, defenses have targeted that wide receiver, and those wide receivers have always produced. So what's that telling you? What's stopping DK Metcalf? What's stopping DK Metcalf? You think Arthur Smith won't scheme or put in play things that are going to get DK Metcalf open? Come on, man. Really? Arthur Smith wouldn't be a second year with the Pittsburgh Steelers if there was no confidence that he would be able to get put in play plays for DK Metcalf to be open for Aaron Rodgers. Come on. Really? All right. I'm just saying. DK Metcalf got a 4. He's got ideal conditions. I know the AFC North has one of the one of the top 10 difficult strength of schedules this season. Okay? And I've always said this. There are exceptions to the rule. There are always exceptions to the rule. This is not a hard and fast rule. This is the last year was the first time DK Metcalf didn't finish as a top 24 wide receiver in fantasy points per game. But he had shoulder and knee injuries last year, and that's probably why he fell off. Okay? But he's the primary target. George Pickens is gone. He went to Dallas. We'll talk about George Pickens. And Rodgers has a reputation for locking onto his wide receiver 1. Okay. It's a run-heavy offense, but just like in another offense that's a run-heavy, one of the run-heavy, if not the most run-heavy offense, and I'll get to that, there'll be times when this wide receiver, DK Metcalf, is going to be called upon to make a play. Okay? Let's move on to number 20. Finally, last season, this guy had a decent quarterback. He had a decent quarterback. Okay, that's why his last season he was wide receiver 8. Wide receiver 8 in fantasy football in PPR leagues. Wide receiver 8. Okay. His difficulty the last few seasons he's been in the league was quarterback play. Not being able to get the ball where it needed to be in Terry McLaurin's hands. Well, up comes Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels. And lo and behold, the true skill of Terry McLaurin comes out. Wide receiver 8. He's in the top 10. I have him at 20. Okay. His strength of schedule is 14. Washington's got one of the highest scoring offenses projected in the league. Okay. With Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury calling the plays. They just got rid of one of their, I wouldn't say he was a drag on the offense, but they're looking for more production out of running back position, which I think they'll get it, which is going to open up the field for Terry McLaurin. And please, Washington, please sign Terry McLaurin. I don't know why they won't. They have the cap space. That's Jaden Daniels' favorite offense. Outside Jaden Daniels, he's one of the best players on the Washington Commanders. Really? Okay. Come on. I once compared, and I think it's because of the quarterback play. That I have to think that I'm pretty sure that was the reason. I once compared Terry McLaurin to Amari Cooper. They were at the time, because of the quarterback play, at the time they were relatively equal. Maybe not exactly equal, but they were relatively equal. Terry McLaurin, like I said, had the best quarterback he's ever been with. That makes a difference. Accuracy, timing, that makes a difference. Okay? Amari Cooper still doesn't have a team in the league. Okay. Everybody declines differently. It's not a cut and dry or cookie cutter type of thing. Everybody's skill set declines differently. And that's the responsibility of general managers and coaches to determine that. Okay? Amari Cooper does not have a team right now. Terry McLaurin does have a team, but they haven't signed him yet. He's 30 years old. Okay. Oh, so what? Is that the excuse? Because he's 30-year-old wide receiver that you're not going to pay him, even though at 29 he showed no signs of declining. No signs of declining. In fact, that was his best year ever with a rookie quarterback. Terry McLaurin is a great value in relation to his average draft position. His average draft position is wide receiver 20. I got him at 20. That's a great, that's late second round to me. He's late second round. Early third, somewhere in that mind. He's not a fourth round pick. He ain't going to be around in the fourth round. If he signs, which I hope he does, they better get him in, because his value is going to drop in fantasy if he hasn't signed by the beginning of the season. I'll tell you that. Most people are going to speculate and draft him, or still draft him, with hopes that he'll be able to give him some use of fantasy value early in the season. Well, it's a wait and see. They got the money. They have the money. Sign them. Really, sign them. Okay. I got no bias toward any team, any player. Okay. If they produce in fantasy, this is I pay attention to the numbers. I don't pay attention to names. I've always said this. Pay attention to the numbers. Don't pay attention to the names. Okay? I've knocked quarterbacks. I've knocked wide receivers, running backs. Pay attention to the names. Don't pay attention to the name. I mean, pay attention to the numbers. Don't pay attention to the name. I've always said that. Okay? And people have taken it wrong that I don't like the player. No, the player's not producing. The player is not producing. If he doesn't produce, how can you support that player? Why? Because he's got a name? Okay. He got a name. But don't have the numbers. The numbers count. Numbers count in fantasy. Okay? You can have a name. If you ain't got the numbers, that name don't mean squat. People will throw you away in fantasy. That's a fact. They'll dismiss you in a heartbeat in fantasy if you don't give them consistent numbers. That's just the cold hard truth. Let's go to number 29. Now, they got a new offensive coordinator / head coach, and this wide receiver is intriguing, okay, at 19. I like the offense of Ben Johnson, okay? If the quarterback can execute that offense. He looked good 2 weeks ago. He looked all right this past week. Let's see what happens when the rear bulls start flying, okay? When Caleb Williams had Caleb Williams ranked high. Let's see what happens when the really bulls. He's got one of the worst strength and schedule. I saw you strength and schedule before. There it is right there. The Bears and Lions are tied for the second hardest schedule in the league. Okay? I told you that. DJ Moore has number 3, which is average, which is fine. But I have him at wide receiver. $19. Okay. He still draws a lot of targets in his passing attack and had 98 receptions as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy points per game. He still drew a ton of volume, making 13th target share and 10th in first read share, but his per route numbers were rough. And like I said, Caleb Williams was partially to blame as Moore ranked 55th in catchable rate, meaning he was 55th way down there in being able to catch a ball that was catchable. Okay. Meaning Caleb Williams was not that accurate. Rushed, offensive line issues, poor play calling, not putting the quarterback and the wide receiver in the best position to make plays. That all makes a difference. That's why, hence, Ben Johnson, offensive guru in Detroit, comes to the Chicago Bears. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Let's move to number 18 in Marvin Harrison Jr. Disappointment last season. Everybody was, and I'll tell you right now, I have him at 18. I have high expectations for the Arizona Cardinals offense. I said that last week, and I'll say it again. I said that last week and the week before when I mentioned Trey McBride last week, and I mentioned Kyler Murray the week before. I have high expectations for this Arizona offense. Strength of schedule. You see Marvin Harrison's got a 4, okay? He's got better than average strength of schedule. He's wide receiver 18. He's bulked up, and I expect Kyler Murray, besides I expect Kyler Murray, besides targeting Trey McBride, to increase and look more for Marvin Harrison Jr. to take advantage of his skill set. I expect that. I expect that. I expect Arizona to surprise people in their offense. True, I've talked about Kyler Murray before. Okay. I've talked about Kyler Murray before. Okay. And rightfully so. If you want to be truthful about it, Kyler Murray has been a inconsistent quarterback. Sometimes he can be an all-pro type quarterback, and sometimes he's hot garbage. That's being truthful. Not being. I'm paying attention to the numbers. I'm not paying attention to the name. Okay, I know the name, but if that name isn't producing the type of numbers that it should, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to say he's not doing what he's supposed to do. But in 2025, I expect Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. to play well and the team to do well. Okay? That's what I expect. Strength of schedule, like I said, is a 9. He's got a 4, which is above average. I think Kyler Murray had a 4 or 5, if I'm not mistaken. Trey McBride had a 5 last week. So his strength of schedule at the tight end position is optimal, I should say. Okay? And Marvin Harrison Jr., strength of schedule for a wide receiver for his position is a 4, which is still favorable. Okay? That's why I have him at 18. And his tipping point could be not tipping point, but he could accelerate. He could easily get it within the top 12. Easily, if my thought process and my thoughts about this situation between the 3 players, the wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback, are right about having a very good season and meeting those high expectations. So I'm feeling Marvin Harrison Jr. And I know he's disappointed in the way things turned out. I know Kyler Murray is disappointed in the way things turned out. So I think between the two of them, meaning McBride and Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray is going to take full advantage of the situation. Now let's move to Mike Evans, number 17, Mr. Old Reliable, 32 years old. His strength of schedule is roughly right in the middle, and he's got a 3 with Baker Mayfield. Okay? He's Mr. Reliability. 13 seasons in the NFL, and 13 seasons over 1,000 yards. And there's really no thing holding him back from getting another 1,000-yard season other than him staying healthy. Baker Mayfield is going to throw to Mike Evans. Baker Mayfield is going to throw to Mike Evans. All right? 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. 11 straight. Come on, people. His average draft position is 17. Wide receiver 2. Second round. He's a second-round pick. I don't care what anybody says. He's a second-round pick. You can almost put it in the bank that Mike Evans is going to have one of those seasons again, barring injury. You always got to say that. Regardless of his quarterback, tight ends, and this week, wide receivers. Barring injury. Okay? I like Mike Evans. And the next guy on the list, one of my favorite wide receivers, who I kept him as a keeper in, and I kept him in round 6, which is I think is pretty good value when he is new face and new place, and he's with one of my favorite quarterbacks in an offense that is favorable to the wide receiver position, Davante Adams. He's got a 3-star. 22 is the strength of schedule. Okay. That's a little harder schedule. But if you close your eyes and look at the age on the roster, you never guess he's entering his 33rd his age 33 season. Okay? This is not the 33rd season. He's going to be 33 and you wouldn't know it. Okay? He hasn't showed a tail off in his performance last year. And he ranked top 10 in fantasy points per game after switching teams in the middle of the season. He was with Aaron Rodgers. Now he's got an offense that favors the wide receiver and teamed up with Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford at quarterback. And like I said, a receiver-friendly Rams attack. I love him as a wide receiver too. With a legitimate top 10 upside, making him a clear pick in the early rounds if Matthew Stafford stays healthy. And that's the key. Even though, and I'm going to premise this like this. I'm going to put it like this. He's got higher upside with Matthew Stafford, quite naturally. Okay. One of my favorite quarterbacks. But just think about this. How much of a drop-off is going to be if Jimmy Garoppolo, who's the backup, going to be in the lineup if Matthew Stafford is unable to play? Jimmy Garoppolo played with Davante Adams in Las Vegas. You think he doesn't know what Davante Adams can and can't do? So I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off between Matthew. Well, let me put it this way. I think Davante Adams is going to be relevant regardless if Matthew Stafford is in there or Jimmy Garoppolo. I just think that. Okay. But we'll see what happens. This is all predicated on health, people. We're talking about healthy players. That's what we're talking about. And I have to say this, okay? Supposedly, at number 15, Tyreek Hill is labeled as one of the riskiest picks in 2025. Now, I got him at wide receiver 15. He's right smack in the middle of strength of schedule for wide receiver. He's got a number 3, okay, as strength of schedule, which is average, okay. He hasn't practiced, okay, was sidelined at Wednesday's practice 4 days ago. And supposedly, Tua, I don't know why, but Tua and Tyreek are struggling to get on the same page. And I'll talk about sleepers when I'm finished talking about all these wide receivers. Okay? Let's go to number 14 in Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's got a 4, people. I talked about in the quarterback position and in tight end position, if I'm not mistaken. Mason Taylor as a sleeper in the tight end position. And Justin Fields as having a favorable schedule. Jets have the 26th. When I give you a high number like that, they have one of the easiest schedules in the league. Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, who's been a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. Okay. I like Justin Fields, and I like Garrett Wilson in this Jet offense, which has been dysfunctional. Hopefully, it's not as dysfunctional with Aaron Glenn at the helm as it was in the past. But these two know each other quite well, played with each other in college, still know each other. So it should be easy pickings for these guys to get on the same page. Easy pickings. That's all I got to say. This should be easy pickings. Number 13. Now, I had this guy as a keeper, but my gut told me either drop T. Higgins in the 5th round, or 7th round, I should say, and just hold on to Devontae Adams in the 6th round. I decided to go with Devontae Adams. I know Higgins has Joe Burrow, but something told me don't go with T. Higgins. He got paid. He was playing for a contract last season. So quite naturally, when players could play for a contract, they more often than not put up big numbers to enhance their chances of getting paid a big contract. And either the following season is inconsistency and not as good as the season where they got paid. So no risk, no reward, people. I decided to go to Devontae Adams route instead of T. Higgins. He helped me win my championship. That should be added incentive, but 24 and 25 are 2 different seasons. Okay? 24 and 25 for 2 different seasons. I'm not going to be chasing numbers T. Higgins gave me last season and not be able to give me this season versus Devontae Adams, who's been a more consistent and more healthier wide receiver. All right? But I got Garrett Wilson, and then I got T. Higgins to round out my bottom 24, or bottom 12, I should say. Okay, let's go to the top 12. Okay? And I got Jackson Smith. Jackson Smith. I can't pronounce the freaking last name. But you know who I'm talking about. JSN. All right? He's at another run-heavy offense with Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak. Clint Kubiak, if I'm not mistaken, that's who he is. The offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. They got rid of Tyler Lockett. They got rid of DK Metcalf, so they have high expectations for Jackson Smith, Njigba. And there's high hopes that he breaks out this season with Sam Darnold throwing in the football. Okay? And that offense looks explosive. That offense looks explosive. I have to say that. That offense looks explosive. He's got a middle of the tier strength of schedule at 18. And like I said, it's a little above average because his numbers are 3. He's got a 3, which is a little above average. Okay. As you can see there, I'm going to go down these quick because I am pressed for time, believe it or not. I got number 11, Ladd McConkey. Now, how much is I know he's an old soul, but how much is the familiarity that Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen have that it's going to affect Lad McConkey? I know Keenan Allen is an old soul. I understand that. And the new blood is McConkey, who's widely respected as a high floor talented wide receiver with a very good rookie year. They got exactly strength of schedule exactly in the middle. McConkey has a 3, an average strength of schedule for a wide receiver. Wide receiver 11. That's where I have Lad McConkey. Let's move on to the top 10 now. This guy, just like DK Metcalf, I can't believe these guys were on the same team, but they were, is a beast. And his talent is firmly established and his workload among the league wide receivers. He's one of the 2 primary targets of the Eagles' passing attack, and that passing attack was volatile. He's pretty much a big play wide receiver, and he can do the things that you want from a. That's why I have him at number 10. Do things that you want for an elite wide receiver. And I identified this years ago when he was with Tennessee, that he was a beast. Brought it out to a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like A.J. Brown until he broke out 3 or 4 years ago? Until he broke out. Okay. But I like A.J. Brown to bring the heat to whoever's playing against him with Jalen Hurts as his friend. And no doubt he demands the football. And he'll get it early and often in his attack. I don't think Philly is going to run it much as they did last season. I think they're going to be still run heavy, but not as heavy as they were. They're going to try to lighten the load with Saquon Barkley. And I'll talk about that more next week, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm talking about running backs next week. Some surprises, people. Some surprises. I'm telling you right now, some surprises. You may agree, you may not. That's fine. That's fine. Okay? And one of my favorite wide receivers, we're moving up the chain here, is at number 9, coming out of Atlanta. An overwhelming fantasy favorite among people this year who play fantasy. That he's a clear top 10. Quite naturally, you see where I have him. I got 9. He's just in the top 10. Got 9 with a 3 as a strength of schedule. Last season, he was wide receiver 10 with a mixture of Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. He showed a lot in the last 3 or 4 games with Michael Penix. Okay? And he was top 9 or 10 last season. Full season, as long as Penix stays healthy, a full season with Drake London and a combination of him with Michael Penix. Oh, baby. I like that combination. I couldn't have one without the other. So I decided on taking a wide receiver instead of the quarterback, which is everything is a risk. Because you never know who's going to get hurt, when they're going to get, and how they get hurt, and how long they're going to be hurt. I'm not wishing injury on anyone. Okay? I'm wishing the best. I'm talking about optimal play here for this wide receiver right now. I have Drake London at number 9. At number 8, BTR. Okay. Jacksonville Jaguars, 22 years old. He's got one of the easiest schedules in the league that pertains to the wide receiver position. Last season, he was wide receiver 4. Last season, as a rookie, he was wide receiver 4. Okay? And in comes the offensive coordinator. Excuse me. The offensive coordinator from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who helped resurrect Baker Mayfield's career. And he's in Jacksonville just to do that with Trevor Lawrence. And they also have Travis Hunter. Does that take away from Brian Thomas Jr.? Or is this going to be a Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, or whatever wide receiver in Tampa Bay version in Jacksonville? That both wide receivers are going to thrive. Got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. He was a stud. He was wide receiver 11 in fantasy points per game, ranking 5th in deep targets and 15th in red zone targets. And as good as those numbers are, they still underrate his upside in 2025 if he can continue what he did down the stretch last year. Let me tell you something, people. And I read the statistic, and I wish I had it to show you. Wide receivers that do well in the first year usually don't decline. They either stay the same or exceed what they did the first year. And I'm loving Brian Thomas Jr. at number 8. He may be a steal. He may be wide receiver 1 in that offense that the new head coach has. Okay. Let's move on to number 7. My old team, Texans. C.J. Stroud, new offensive line, a healthy Nico Collins. Okay. Let me tell you something, people. Nico Collins can easily be a number 1 wide receiver, surpassing Jamar Chase. Easily. He was wide receiver 7 last year. And he was hurt for a few weeks. If he can stay healthy, and he'll put up consistent numbers because C.J. Stroud targets him early and often. Remember, I said target equal opportunities. Remember, I said that. Remember, I said targets equal opportunities. And he's going to be targeted early and often. Early and often. Okay? I don't have to tell you all this, but I'm giving you this because this is how I feel about these players. Puka Nacua. Now, most people are going to draft Puka probably within the first round. I don't know. You got Devontae Adams there, who averaged about 10 targets a game. There's only so many targets that can be pushed around. Is Devontae Adams going to take away the majority of the targets from Puka Nacua, or is it vice versa? Okay. This, I know I have him at 6, okay, which is high. This is probably one of the question marks I have. If I have this guy too high or not. 22 is the strength of schedule. He was wide receiver 6 last year, and I got him wide receiver 6 this year. Okay, but he had a declining Cooper Kupp, and now you have a wide receiver that's quite capable in Devontae Adams. Just think about that. You got Devontae Adams, and you got Puka Nacua, who are going to be demanding the football. Who's going to win out? The lower-ranked Devontae Adams or the higher-ranked Puka Nacua? Think about that. With a quarterback that his health is in question mark, and the report of the backup is better with Devontae Adams versus Puka Nacua. Think about that. Okay? I thought about it. Think about that. All right. At number 5, the Sun God. The Sun God. And Puka Nacua, quite naturally, you see he's got a 3, an average score. The Sun God and Nico Collins, I neglected to tell you, Nico Collins, if you see, it's a 4-star. He's above average. So he's got a good shot to exceed his expectations and where he sits in this list. The Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got to understand, the second hardest schedule, the Bears and Lions. Second hardest schedule. Okay? Got to understand that. It's the Sun God. Very reliable in the name of the game in 2025. And his ceiling as fantasy points may be a little lower than recent years, while he remains a safe bet for wide receiver 1 production and won't tank your lineup. A dip in targets and increased competition from Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta. I have to believe he may be more of a late first round pick, or even a high end wide receiver too. But in good conscience, I got to put Amon-Ra St. Brown at number 5. And number 4, another rookie wide receiver that broke out. And the Giants have the hardest schedule in the NFL. The hardest schedule in the NFL, with it new faces and new places. Rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, and Jameis Winston. Okay? No more Daniel Jones. He's in Indianapolis. You notice I don't have any Indianapolis up here. Okay. Clear top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. Rock solid wide receiver 1. Jaw-dropping elite talent last season in his rookie year. And he had a high amount of targets in his rookie season. And remember what I said, most rookie wide receivers don't decline. If they had a good year, the first year of playing in NFL, if barring injury, they either stay the same or they take another step up. Take another step up. They got he has the hardest schedule of any wide receiver in the league. That may be the caveat that torpedoes his season. But I got him as wide receiver 4 because I believe in his talent. I believe in the quarterbacks, and Brian Dable, who's the offensive coordinator and the head coach, all wrapped up in one, to be able to do what he did last year, to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. That's what I believe in. Okay? And number 3, I should say, JJ, one of my favorites, dealing with a hamstring. Okay. I always said, I love this offense. I love this head coach. knows how to put the wide receiver and the quarterback, and whoever the pass catchers are, I should say, and the quarterback in the best position to make plays. And you got one of the best wide receivers, regardless of who is the quarterback, in Justin Jefferson. They don't have the best strength of schedule. It's 28 as a team. His strength of schedule is a 2, which isn't the best. But I love this offense. This offense scores points. This offense scores points. Okay? I got to love them. Absolutely got to love them. And then one of the top offenses in the league. Have been for years. Kirk Cousins, Sam Donald, and now J.J. McCarthy. Okay. J.J. Jefferson. Justin Jefferson. Come on, man. It's quite obvious. This guy's always been there for years. And then we got CeeDee Lamb. Now, some people want to go back and forth because I don't believe in chasing numbers, and I think the number one, which I'm going to show you, which you've seen already, it's going to tail off. They got a tougher schedule. They got one of the toughest schedules in the league in Cincinnati. One of the toughest schedules in the league in Cincinnati. They're within the top 10 as having a tough schedule, or top 12, or whatever. Having one of the toughest schedules. But I'm going to go in number 2 is CeeDee Lamb. As long as Dak stays healthy, he's going to have George Pickens on the other side. Pick your poison, defense. Who are you going to double? George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb? And then pass-happy offense with Dak Prescott throwing the football. High volume and steady. He's definitely an elite fantasy wide receiver. Some people have him at number 1. Some people have him exactly where I have him right now, number 2. Okay. CeeDee Lamb last season was wide receiver 5. There's nothing to stop other than Dak getting hurt. Him extending to the second best or even the best wide receiver in fantasy. And that's why I have CeeDee Lamb right here. All right. And number 1, I think he's going to get enough volume with his teammate, Joe Burrow, who people are projecting him to throw over 4,000 yards. And quite naturally, their defense, Cincinnati defense, is very bad, extremely bad. So I imagine Joe Burrow is going to have to score a lot of points and throwing the football to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase being number 1, T. Higgins number 2. Wide receivers. Okay. So there it is right there. You have 1 to 12. Okay. I'm going to give you a chance to look at them. And you have 13 to 24 here. Okay. I have George Pickens, Calvin Ridley, and Rome Odunze, and Stephon Diggs. Okay? Ridley has 4 in strength of schedule. I told you about the wide receivers in Tennessee. I know people don't like Cam Ward. I'm not a fan of Cam Ward, but I think because him and Cam Ward and Ridley have a seemingly rapport with each other, that he's going to get targeted often, early and often. And I just always say targets equal opportunities. Okay. I see them getting them getting Calvin Ridley a lot of looks. Probably targeted at nauseum. Let me put it that way. I like Roma Dunze. I think Roma Dunze is going to going to be a surprise. He may have a breakout season. Just think about that. I know I get DJ Moore at number 19, but this is a young offense. It can support more than one wide receiver. Young quarterback, young offense, innovative play caller. Why not? Stephon Diggs, Drake May is no joke. They have an improved offense. The defense is pretty stellar. They have improved offense, and that's I wouldn't say clear cut, but I'm almost positive he's a clear cut wide receiver, a number one wide receiver for New England. And New England has one of the easiest schedules in the league. New England has one of the easiest schedules in the league. And last but not least, okay, I talked about Tampa Bay and Mike Evans. Chris Godwin may not be able to play for a few weeks starting the season. The Ohio State rookie wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Just think about that. Okay? He's a late round flyer. And he could be a fantasy football winner. He could be a winner for you. Okay? All right, people. That's the end of my story. I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Next Sunday, which would be the 31st. I'll be here the end of August. No more preseason games. The end of August. And fantasy football drafts are going to be in abundance to get it out of the way before the season starts. September 4th, if I'm not mistaken, when the fantasy football season starts. September 4th, yes. Okay. I got 3 drafts on Sunday. And we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. First chance I get is in this league to defend my title again. Okay? With that being said, enjoy the weekend or what's left of it. And I'll talk to you 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time next Sunday. Right here on YouTube. See ya.